When we understand reality creation as expansion, as a weaving, we can throw out our line and we can create a strand of which we allow to unfold, sometimes weaving it fast and strong, other times cutting the line and making repairs. And yet there will still be times when we add or change the color, when we check the pattern, or we may have to begin a section again. Maybe what began as one thing turns into another, but each step in the process, in the unfolding, gets us further to a completion point before we fold it up and inevitably begin again. It's in the appreciation of the process, the love and the passion for the art, the design, the formation, that true reality creation begins. That's where the magic resides, not in the destination, but in the journey. And what a journey this year has been. Hello, beautiful beings of light, and welcome to this galactic energy report. We have so much to talk about as usual today. I'm going to be going through this solar eclipse coming up on December 3rd or December 4th, depending on where you're at in the world. And we're going to be discussing how that's all working in this grand symphony, bringing us to this next portal point on December 21st. And also, I'm going to bring in some new concepts with the seasons of reality creation, and also touch on the great attractor, which is something that you may have heard floating around the ether. So when I last left you, we had gone through this equinox, we had gone through this 0 point, we had gone from the 0 point to this creation point on 11/11, from a 0 to a 1, and we were cleaning up timelines, we were cleaning up red tape soul contracts, clearing karma, however you want to look at it. We were bringing everything to a 0 point so that we could begin creation in the abundance matrix. And that really took us to the 11/22 point, and that was where we were beginning to create balance. So we went from a 0 to a 1 to a 2. And all of the messaging that I've been getting lately has all been 2 2s. It's all about balance. It's all about harmonizing. It's all about letting go and creating at the same time. And I explained to you that when we got to this point, this solar eclipse point, that we were really going to have a clear picture of where we were heading and what we were letting go of. And I really hope that that's a space that you've been able to enter. I know the energies have been intense and there's a lot coming up. And so let's tease that out specifically and get a big picture of what we're working with. So the galactic and eclipse energies stepping forward are giving us this big proverbial kick in the ass. We want to harness this energy. We want to shake things up. We want to let them fire and push us past the creation point into the next phase of our reality creation. And many in the spiritual community are hungry for these big, epic changes. You can feel it buzzing. You can feel this energy of creation. But many people are still looking outside of themselves for some giant, big event, or some splitting of the physical, of the material realm, or of Gaia herself. And as I've discussed in many of these videos, this is an unfolding, this is an expansion, this is a an opening up of our cords and tethers, and it's a tuning into a different frequency. It's It's letting go of the abundance matrix and letting go of the lack matrix and tapping into the abundance matrix. And it's all a process, and it's all happening under this 5D grid of the earth itself. So how you utilize these energies are either going to allow a slow burn into this bright new beginning, into this abundance matrix. Because remember, these eclipse energies stay with us for 6 months. So you're either going to have this slow, sustained burn into a whole new world, okay? Or it's going to create a whole lot of suffering. And the choice is always ours as to how we utilize this energy. And maybe some of us do need that big jolt to get the motor running, But in order to effectively utilize these energies in our reality creation, I wanted to discuss with you today what my team in spirit is calling the seasons of reality creation. The seasons of reality creation. And this theme has been coming up with me anyway, and the messages I've been receiving have been ongoing for the last few months. So it's really been exciting to kind of have a new template and a way to see reality creation. The energy of a solar eclipse, of this solar eclipse in Sagittarius, which is happening on December 3rd or December 4th, depending on where you're at in the world, and also under a new moon, is really like the energy of revision and a new beginning all at once. And that lines up with where we're revising these timelines. We're bringing them all into a 0 point, these 7 different timelines. We're uncording from the lack matrix. And we're understanding that we are quantum. We are multifaceted. We're multidimensional. So it's not just a single strand. This is the access point of the loom, and this is where we're getting all our ducks in a row. We're coming home to the 0 point across all time and space from a quantum perspective. And what I'm really feeling intuitively is a step back and a rebalancing. Remember, we're in this balancing phase. We move from a 0 to a 1 to a 2 as we work towards this new beginning. So we also see the South Node acting as this big push broom, and it's clearing away karma or lower vibrational cords and tethers, quantum entanglement, denser energies from the 8th sphere, however you want to look at that. So, and we've been working on bringing all these to a 0 point. So a good example of the way that this is all kind of playing out for us and is I'm going to use my upstairs loft so in my personal life. So we're in this process in my home of refinancing my house. And in order to refinance, we're going to have an appraisal done. And in order to have the appraisal done, we need to finish the repairs and the painting in our upstairs loft. And this will include installing a library, which will allow books I have in storage to come out. And in order to do that, I'm going to then need to free up space to reorganize that space in my attic and bring out my art supplies and have a dedicated writing and filming space. And all of this will lead to a brand new beginning in not just the money I'm going to save monthly in refinancing my house, but a reorganized storage space, an organized attic space, a dedicated space for writing and filming, a library, and in the end, a beautiful space in which to spend our time. And this is exactly the energy that we're working with this solar eclipse from a galactic perspective. It's giving you the insight and a way to have a brand new beginning in whatever capacity you choose. However, in order to get there, you have to follow the steps. You need to take decisive action, and you need to allow the process to unfold one step at a time. And we're going to see this playing out all over our lives. There have been things that you've wanted to begin there are things that have needed wrapping up. There are things that have lingered around without any movement for ages, whether that's a belief system or a pattern of daily living. There are things that you've known needed taken care of, but you just couldn't quite get the pieces together, or you haven't had the motivation to carry it out. Whatever the case may be, we have this opportunity now to hold on to a brand new beginning. And yeah, I actually mean hold on, because it's one thing to quantum leap into a new template. It's to move into the abundance matrix, but holding that space, that frequency takes practice. And that's what we've been doing over the course of the end of 2020 into 2021. We've been practicing. Remember, this gateway opened in 12/21 of 2020, and we just came online to it, and we have been practicing in our imaginations, in our minds. We've been scripting it in the space of variations, or the great tapestry, however you want to look at it. And now we're bringing it into the material realm, and now we're bringing it all into balance. We can see a way forward, and we can see now how we can embody the state that's going to hold us into the abundance matrix once and for all. So so we have this ability to hold on to this brand new beginning, because we are holding the space now that frequency takes to stay there. And so it's just kind of like with this loft. I bought a brand new duvet and tapestries to hang on the wall a year ago, and we've been discussing the shelving for the library for 2 years. We bought a large statement piece for the wall. That's been like a year and a half ago. And we've been slowly moving in that direction for several years. And we knew that it would all come together, but other projects were needed, not wanted. This was like a want, or they just manifested more quickly. And this is the time when all the parts and pieces came together, or are coming together, and we're beginning to see a way to bring it into the material realm. And that is what we're seeing galactically, from a macro level and from a micro level, all the way down to little projects in your house. But this infrastructure, this idea of architecture, of infrastructure, of building a new world, is really going to take center stage in our life and in our scripting over the next 6 months. And this is where we can get into trouble, where we create our own suffering, is when we don't honor these seasons of reality creation. I was really inspired by someone posting in a group I belong to about how they had joined this church that was focused on reality creation. And after a time, they felt like the message was that they were always needing to be changing and creating something new, something more. So she left that church and began joining loads of spiritual communities where the message seems to be the same. And I concur with this. It really resonated with me, and I took that to the Terra group. If you've been following the concept of tethering, and if you haven't, I would definitely suggest that you check out my original channeling from the Terra group. And the last 3 or 4 channeled energy reports that I put out, I've drawn out pictures of the way that this all looks and how it's happening. But if you've been following along with that, then you understand that all of our power comes from the now. Now, right now, not the past, which is what we're typically experiencing as our present, and we normally experience as now. That's actually really the past, and not from a future, which also has already been experienced, but that's a whole other conundrum I can discuss at a later date. You can look back to my How Does Time Work in the Fourth Dimension if you want a more larger depiction of that. But for purposes of how we experience this template from a prospect of a future that's yet to exist, okay? If we harness our creation ability in the 0 point, in the void, in the space of everything and nothing, then how do we ever actually actualize or expand if we're either replaying the past through the automaton, or thinking about a future that isn't here? The answer is we really don't. Yes, anything that is imagined is a reality somewhere. Seek and ye shall find, knock and the door shall be opened. And the tarot group really integrated for this for me a couple weeks ago. The moment we knock or we create something in the imagination, it's done. It exists. It's a reality. Then all we have to do is align to its existence. It's immediate. And obviously in higher dimensional frequencies, it's more immediate than here in this dense third and fourth dimensional. Now we're in the fourth dimensional reality where there is a lag. There's a lag from the time that we knock and the door is opened, even though it exists. It's all about frequency and how fast we're vibrating. So where we get hung up is through our lower vibrational cords and tethers. It's like, yes, it exists instantly, but it's on the other side of a swamp, and we have to wade through the muck and the mire in order to get to the other side and receive the manifestation. And that's the resistance. That's the old programs and templates. Well, what we're doing through the process of expansion, through clearing away the mud and the debris of lower vibrational tethers of doubt, fear, and lack, is making that process smoother. So if we knock and the door is opened, we don't need to sit around and think about what it took for us to walk up to the door and knock on it. It's not necessary to continue to replay that series of events. And we actually don't even need to visualize the process of what's going to happen after the door is opened. All we simply need to do is walk straight to the manifested desire and trust we will keep moving in the direction of our highest and best lifeline. And when we're in the flow state, when we're riding the wave, that's how it feels. We're just vibing in our relaxed state. We're knowing our world is taking care of us, and we just ride along and move towards that destination. We're not always wanting more, needing more, looking to the next and the next and the next. No, we're in receipt. We are in receipt of the bounty of life. We flow, we grow, we expand, we weave, and we integrate that experience, that desire, that knowledge. We modify if necessary, and we begin again. It's an expansion from one state to another, one season to another. If we are only ever knocking on the door, then we will never get to the other side, and we skip so much of the seasonal year of reality creation. So the easiest way to look at it is like this. We have a goal or a desire. We dream this up in our imagination. This is our winter. It's the dreaming, the hibernation, the creation. It's the planting of the seed and that gestational process, okay? Then we leap into action. This is our spring. We're springing forward. It's the germination of the desire, and we bring it down from the dreaming into the material realm. We move towards the desired goal. We begin to believe in the reality of our dream and plan our moves and make our first tender steps. Okay, so that's like our spring. And then next comes working the soil. That's our summer, where we work steadfastly towards our goal. We clear away the debris. We work on our beliefs, our templates. We take action upon our plans in the material realm, and we tend to the growth, and we nurture it into existence. We begin to see it take shape. And then kind of between the summer and the fall, we have the harvest. And that's, again, just the end of the summer and the beginning of the fall. And this is where we're reaping our reward. And this occurs with small milestones. So it's each step along the way. If I use that example of, this ultimate goal of refinancing the house, then it's each time I finish a little step in that. It's when I get the paperwork together, and then I, begin painting the walls. It's every little milestone on a micro level, and then it's also on a macro level, with the completion of that project, and then I'm going to move on to the next project, and then you get out larger than that, and now we have a collective infrastructure, and it's every milestone in that, and then you grow out from there and there and there, and it just keeps, growing until, now we're at a quantum level, and this is all happening simultaneously and at different speeds, which is what's so amazing about this coordinated effort, this weaving, this unfolding. And then next after that comes this inevitable fall. It's that feeling after the party or the big event. It's the taking it in, all in, of what we will remain and what we're going to surrender, what must go. And this is often a period of integration of the lessons we've learned from the previous seasons. And obviously, you can apply this to an entire lifetime, which again is just one big season. And it's the necessary letting go in order to birth something new. And in our death, our winter, okay, now we're back to winter. In our dreaming, we begin this process again and again and again. And if we never revise, if we never take things in, if we never allow a desire to germinate, then we are in essence just remaining in one season perpetually. And this just creates a lot of suffering and actually a lot of prolonging of the process because it causes counter manifesting. It's that checking the cake 1,000 times, knowing it still needs more time to bake. It's digging up the seed to see if it's sprouted. We all do this, okay? And we all add resistance into the mix, but you see, it's that fall season that we learn from this and we do better the next time around. And each time we bake the cake, we plant the seed, we get a bit better and a bit better. And if we can understand that there will be seasons, there's always going to be seasons to our reality creation. If we understand that each time we knock and get to that open door, it's going to be a process that we master and level up, then we can relax a bit and learn to revel in the winter or the fall instead of, being the winter of our discontent. It can be the winter of our contentment. We can break away from this almost addiction to self-help that we see in spiritual circles, because really when you stop and take a look at it, if you're always broken, then you always need fixing. But what if you're not broken? What if you're just expanding and growing through your seasons? Well, now there you see that's a master manifester. Because much of what's being regurgitated out again and again and again is just the same old template. It's like a rat race with a label, of spirituality on it. And that also has larger implications when we think of programs and templates and belief systems and how they overlay onto one another with just, a different kind of repackaging or rebranding. And so we can take all of this in and place that to this now moment where we come to this solar eclipse. And this is that season that we're experiencing. It's a point of contemplation and new beginnings. It's the spring and the fall at the same time. We are moving into the creation point of a whole new dimension. We are now building the abundance matrix. We are springing forward and taking that leap, but it's still the earliest stages, and we're going to get it right and we're going to get it wrong and make a big, beautiful mess all at the same time. And being that we are multifaceted, we're multidimensional, we're also wrapping up these lessons left over from the lack matrix. We are taking in the experience and we are learning our lessons. We are beginning to understand that we were never broken and we were just experiencing a state. And we can begin to let go and surrender to these new belief systems, understanding that they are all going to have their season. And then we can begin to enjoy the journey again, the journey, not just the destination. And we can understand that we have this burning desire for a bright new future, and at the same time appreciate the now. And we can look upon this from that space and place of the observer, of the multifaceted human, and truly begin to live in a more neutral space. And that's really what I believe this new beginning is all about. It's that space, that 0 point, that void. We can feel safe again to come back down into the body and delight in the human experience, but now with a whole new set of eyes. And really, that's what the energy of Sagittarius is all about. It's the call to adventure and seizing life. It's the enjoyment of the experience again. It's the enjoyment of being human. It's the folly and the fabulous all at the same time. And we are going to see now not only the missing pieces of the puzzle, but also where we have been denying ourselves that fun and that pleasure, that humanness, where we've been in this perpetual season, and in doing that, what we've missed. And I think a lot of us are really going to feel the need to step back and look at our personal infrastructure. I think that we're going to see a lot globally around infrastructure. There is going to be a lot of upheaval. Again, this energy is staying with us for 6 months, so there is going to be a lot that's going to spark off, and a lot that's going to get raucous. So many are now going to begin to awaken to the larger themes that maybe they had been blind to before. And remember, here again, if you're exchanging energy here with me, you should consider yourselves about 5 years ahead of quite a bit of the collective. So if you're having an entirely different urge right now, and they seem out of place in comparison to what you see sparking off in the collective and what's crumbling in the infrastructure, I really can't stress this enough. Follow your personal guidance system. The larger Sagittarius energy is all about trusting what is true for you and what is right for you. And I'm going to be talking a lot about this in the coming year. This idea of sovereignty, this idea of discernment, and what that's going to mean really for the rest of this human lifetime as we move into the age of Aquarius. We're going to see these as larger themes. So although I'm aware as the observer of what's going on this collective umbrella, I am also still turning towards the abundance matrix. So again, I'm viewing the fall and the spring at the same time. I'm becoming more quantum in my material reality, in my physical reality as well. So like, for example, in my own life personally, I'm being called to look at in my spring, okay, in the leaps of growing more food, of my own food, looking at rainwater collection, different sources of energy. I'm exploring different ways to invest. And that could be anything. I mean, that could even be things that are completely outside of the box, like seed collection as a form of an asset. Not just what we knew in the old world, in the lack matrix. I'm thinking about nonprofit organization, what that might look like in the future, the infrastructure of that. There's so much I'm being called to begin educating myself further on. So don't discount it. Write it down. It may come to you in a surge, or like in my case, it may be something that you've been kicking around for the last 5 years and you've been building on. You know, we've been building on this idea of growing food, and it was something that we had no experience with before. And every year it's something that we've expanded a little bit more and a little bit more. And now that we realize, okay, we can do this, it's, okay, well, how can we can and preserve the food, and how can we yield a better harvest? And so whatever it is, even if it seems really strange or outside of the box, don't discount that. Follow your personal guidance system. And again, it's going to have this theme of like architecture or infrastructure. And there's going to be things on the fall side of it where you may need to wrap up different components of your life before you can move on. And now you're super motivated to get there. And even like thinking about the infrastructure of the physical body and how you're eating and drinking. I completely overhauled my nutrient intake over the past like 3 months with different supplements that my team in Spirit has asked me to take, and things that I had like no previous exposure to whatsoever. Like, now I'm drinking aloe juice, and I'm drinking apple cider vinegar like 3 times a day, and I'm taking fish oil, and just things that I wasn't looking at, but I was receiving as guidance. And I know that's because our light bodies are coming online and everything's shifting, and we're preparing to build a whole new reality. So think of this idea of infrastructure and how you can take that all the way down to a micro level and how it can touch every different part of your life. And then take it to a macro level and see how it's playing out on a world stage. And if you're bringing that really as a theme over your next 6 months, it's going to be, I'm in the fall, I'm in the spring, and my script is about infrastructure. It's all about the structure of things and how am I bringing that into the material realm. So with that, we have this helpmate of the South Node, which is coming in and clearing away all these karmic cycles, all these lower vibrational cords and tethers, and all these shadows. And we're going to see this really coming out now. And it's going to be ramping up all the way to the end of the year and into the next on a global stage, on the global world stage. But for us, on a more micro and on a personal level, if those old templates are coming up, it's really important now that we're not fixating on them, focusing on them. We can say, oh, I see that. That's just a little blip, and that's not my now anymore. And we can move on from that, because that South Node is really lending itself to bringing those 7 different timelines to a 0 point status. And then finally, like the last piece of this puzzle, or the last ingredient in this recipe that we're working with this eclipse season over this next 6 months, and certainly, peaking here with this solar eclipse, is what's called the Great Attractor, which is now coming online to the collective experience. So many people have heard of the galactic center and the grand central sun that lies around 26 to 27 degrees of Sagittarius, and this is the sun of our sun. It's the great central sun. It's the central rotating point of our Milky Way galaxy. And from the perspective of tethering, understanding, the sun as our future, but also understanding that as the conscious self. If we look at all of these grids in our Milky Way galaxy as points of consciousness, and they hold their own intelligence, and they were tethered and corded into them, understanding that the sun is our conscious mind. It's where we're consciously creating future scripts. Then understanding from that, the central sun is then the sun's sun. So from a larger perspective, mainly with tethering, we've kind of stayed within our Milky Way galaxy. We've touched on it. I've touched on it a little bit with the higher self in some of the serious channelings that I did with some of these other points being like beyond or higher access points. And I've started to tap into our light bodies and our celestial DNA, and how that's the 12 strand, and how that's all corded into everything, including our grand central sun and beyond. Well, this great attractor is this supercluster of 100,000 galaxies, 250 million light years from our solar system. And it's the grand central sun of a much larger group of galaxies. So now we're beginning to get into like omniverse territory. And this is the point that we are all being pulled towards. Okay, so we are literally like hurling in that direction, in this spiral, of energy in our toroidal fields, from a micro and then a macro, and with the magnetosphere, and then from the galaxy, and then on and on and on. So it's amazing. And in astrology, the great attractor represents the key to the mystery of the universe. So we can think of that as the point of the gateway to intelligent infinity. And so the implications of that are, obviously that is the door we're all knocking on in meditation, to get through into. And I sought out, I knew that I was going to be making this, and I really wanted to make contact with, this great attractor energy, and ask for what was the highest and best message, what was the most important thing that we needed to understand now with the way that it's working with our energy fields, and the solar eclipse specifically. Because we have that link from the sun, it's direct lineage point, okay? And so I've been knocking on this door of this great attractor, and it was initially this huge force field that didn't really want to let me in. Like, I could feel it as this giant magnet, and I could feel it pulling and pushing at the same time. It's clearing away. In some cases, people would look at that as like destroying or wrecking or tearing apart. I'm seeing this visual of like, a tornado moving across like a wooded area, what that would look like, okay? But that it's actually clearing, or and they're showing me like how a forest, like a natural forest fire, like clearing. So it's that, but it's also granting miracles and wishes at the same time. It's that, if you remember that video I did where I discussed, transcending my life expectancy, and that visual they gave me of the wave, and how you could be at the bottom or the top, and how we're all, it's our choice on where we're riding it. This great attractor is all things. It's all of it. And it just goes right in line with all of this that I've been discussing with these seasons of reality creation, how we're in this fall and we're in this spring at the same time. It is all things. So I was, meditating the other night, and I fell asleep in meditation, and that is where, I made contact and I woke up, like sat bolt upright in the middle of the night and wrote this down. And the message they gave me was that it is the primordial soup of everything. It is the building blocks for human construction, human consciousness. It is everything. It is the primordial soup. And we have this energy available to us right now. So as usual, everything is working in this great grand tapestry to aid and assist us in this expansion process, in this weaving. And I'm, definitely going to be pursuing, more contact with this great attractor energy. But it's all happening simultaneously for us, and it's really exciting. And I really think that there's going to be a lot happening from a global perspective. There's going to be a lot going down, and that is the fall, and we need to view it as that, from the neutral observer perspective. And at the same time, as we wrap that up and close that out, you know, we begin our spring. And we have this solar eclipse energy assisting us. We have this balancing portal energy. We're moving towards the 1221. We have the south node. We have this great attractor and this giant primordial soup. And it's all serving us. It's for our highest and best, for this next phase in human evolution and the consciousness of the of the omniverse, you know, not just here in our tiny little universe. So if we can try to keep that in perspective, then I think we will manage this slow burn, this move, this, you know, flow from one wave to another, this honoring of the seasons and the weaving of the great tapestry. And that is going to help move us into this bright future that we're all burning for, this climbing process. And, you know, we need to let go of these old processes and replace it with new. And that's where this idea of infrastructure is really going to stay with us. So I really hope that that helped you guys out there. If you need a little extra boost, I promise, and I've delivered. I have created 2 declarations now to kind of assist you in holding your state, and I will link those in the description box below. If you are a new subscriber, thank you so much for joining. And if you're new to tethering, I will link the original tethering video in the description box as well. And I would absolutely recommend that you take a look at the last several channelings that I did, and that's listed in the playlist on my main channel, where I go through all the different pictures of the harvest as a weaving, and how we are really moving into this abundance matrix, and what an exciting time it is for us. So happy holidays to all of you. I will definitely be back with you on the 1221 portal and giving you an update there. And I've got a couple other exciting things in the works, discussing metaverse, and I released a sneak peek on that. So yeah, take a look around, and you know, I appreciate all of the love that you guys have given me, and the comments and the shares and the likes and everything. It means a lot to me, and I'm really excited to see how this spring of love manifest is going to progress over this next year. So happy eclipse season. I'm sending you all big, 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 big love. Bye.
Just wanted to say I love ya. Scully loves ya. Bye.